this is Dr. Morazi again with Minutes for Moms, here to give you more practical pediatric advice. This is the first in our series of 5 videos about your 4-month-old. Today we are going to talk about infant feeding. This is when things really start to become fun because now you get to start to play with a spoon. The reason why you really don't do much with a spoon before that 4-month mark is because that baby still has that newborn reflex to spit everything out with their tongue. So that tongue thrusting gets in the way with them getting a solid food from the front of the mouth to the back of their mouth. So that's why each baby is going to be completely different as you're trying to kind of introduce food. Some pick it up right at the very beginning. Others, it takes a couple weeks, a couple tries. So the thing to remember is that there's no rights or wrongs when it comes to infant feeding. So usually what I tell people is, now you're going to start playing with a spoon. And what I mean by that is the baby's learning how to eat off of a spoon. So what happens is, as you start that baby feeding, what they'll tell you is you want that baby to be able to sit completely on their own. Well, that's hard because they still kind of rock back and forth. And if you let them rock back and forth, you're going to have a moving object. So I usually will say, have the baby a little bit reclined in a little bit of a bouncy seat, not completely reclined, but just a little bit. So gravity's not having them fight back and forth. And with that, you will then be able to, if they're working with their hands, grabbing at the spoon, you'll be able to use this hand to control their hands. So that's one of the things that you're going to do. So as you start to get ready to feed, the one big important point is don't feed the baby when the baby's hungry. Because if you try to feed the baby when they're hungry, all they do is get really, really mad and frustrated, and it becomes a miserable experience. So you're going to feed the baby when the baby's not hungry, so maybe like an hour and a half after the baby's had a bottle or breastfed. So the other thing is when the baby's in a good mood and when things are not rushed. So there's going to be some days when you don't have the time or the baby's in a bad mood, and really the baby doesn't care and the baby's growth curve doesn't care, because the baby, all we're doing is learning how to feed, learning how to eat off of that spoon, which is nice. I still have people start with rice cereal, and the reason why is it's a cheap staple. It's easy. You can make it really, really runny, and if they have a miserable day, who cares? You're throwing it away, and you haven't spent a lot of money. So usually rice cereal, you make it fairly runny. You can either mix it with water, formula, breast milk, anything that you want to do. So as it's runny and you go to offer the baby's going to kind of just sip it off that spoon, and then they're going to learn how to get that tongue, move the food from the front of the mouth to the back of the mouth. So say you try that and it is a miserable experience, well, wait a week. Eventually the baby's going to figure it out. Eventually it's going to become natural, and then it's not going to be a chore behind it. So once it's no longer a chore, then you start your other baby foods. So with that, you're going to do one new food every 2 to 3 days. So start with the fruit or a vegetable. If you start with the fruit, it really doesn't mean that you're going to have a sweet tooth. The studies are showing that that really isn't true. But if you want to start with a vegetable, I usually tell people start with an orange vegetable, because green vegetables, they make kind of a goofy face and it's more of an acquired taste, and you want to wait to do that till the baby really, really enjoys feeding, and then you throw those green vegetables in and they'll kind of eat right through that because they really like that. And the other thing you're going to do is look like you're having fun. If you're having fun, the baby's going to have fun, which is a ton of fun. So in the beginning, really at that 4-month mark, you're likely to get 1 feeding in. That second feeding comes closer to 6 months of age, and that third feeding comes between 8 to 9 months of age when that baby is a social eater. Another thing that you're going to hear people talk about and things that you're going to see in your parenting magazine is a feeding technique called baby-led weaning. Baby-led weaning is the baby feeding themselves with their hands. So developmentally, right now, the baby is learning that their hands are theirs. So if you try to put food on their tray, they're not going to know what to do with it. So baby-led weaning really is after that 6-month mark. So we will talk about that at that 6-month visit. And to be quite honest with you, if I had another baby, I would do a combination of this spoon feeding as well as baby-led weaning, kind of getting both of those kind of going, because there's good things to say about both of those. Now, one thing that is really, really important is juice. Juice is not considered a fruit. Juice is considered a big, ginormous piece of chocolate cake. So I tell people, don't do juice. Juice is not anything healthy. So if we don't get the baby used to or expecting juice, then we don't have a bad habit to break down the way. So all you're doing is the breastfeeding or formula, and then slowly starting kind of that spoon feeding. So I sure hope that they gave you a lot of advice for your 4-month-old feeding and kind of the do's and the don'ts. If this is your first time to my channel, please subscribe and give me a like on Minutes for Moms. And if there's any further questions or comments or videos that you would like for me to cover, please leave that in the comment section. And once again, you now know what I know. Until next time, bye.